Hello, it's Christine Madera from modernmystic.net and Conversations from the Edge podcast. So I posted a little mystic wisdom this week around love. And I talked about love as a vibrational state rather than an emotional state. And I said that in a vibrational state of love, you can experience the full flavors of life, all of the emotions of life, from things like anger and fear to joy and ecstasy, and yet stay in that stable container of love. So I had some questions about that, and I wanted to address those, and people wanted to go a little bit deeper with that. So I've decided to make this video. So our emotional state, or we've all experienced emotions, and emotions are very fast. They rise, they fall, they're here, they're gone. You know, you feel sad, and then you have a good cry, and then you feel better, and then you feel happy, and then something happens, and then you feel angry. And so it's always like this roller coaster of things. And when we identify ourselves as our emotions, and a lot of people do, and English language actually helps us do this by phrasing things like I am sad, I am angry, I am happy. And it really identifies the body, identifies you with your emotional state. Well, when you do that, there's a lot of rising, there's a lot of falling, it's kind of chaotic when you do that. And also when you get into an emotion that is kind of a patterned emotion, whether it's anger or sadness or fear, that can really flavor your entire life. But it's really, and because emotions are fast, they're associated with our physical body, mental body, emotional body. And they move through the neurotransmitter system, the nervous system, and the endocrine system, which kind of juices the hormones of like stress hormones and healing hormones. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, all these biochemical things in the body that rise and fall and adjust with emotions. But beneath that physical, mental, and emotional aspects of the body is your subtle body, your energy body, that body that has a more steady state that's available to you that we're not really taught about. And so this vibrational state is kind of a place, it's sort of our default set point in between the rise and fall of emotions. And it's actually our default set point even as we experience emotions. It's just that once those emotions kind of calm down to be peaceful again, or calm down so we're not experiencing a heightened emotion, we come back to our default set point vibrationally. So we've all known people who are just angry, right? Now, it doesn't mean that they're always fuming with anger all the time. What it really means is that like anger is their vibrational set point. They always have this aura of anger about them. And when something happens that triggers an emotion, it's usually an emotion that's flavored with anger. And even if it's something good that happens, like ultimately they'll find some reason to be angry about it, right? And so that's kind of that default, that deeper vibrational set point in the body. And because we're not taught about that, oftentimes we have old emotions that have kind of lodged, that have created these lower vibration default set points. So I referenced in the post this chart by Dr. David Hawkins, and it's from his Power versus Force book and Power versus Force work. And if you image search Power versus Force, you'll find all kinds of really good colorful images, but the black and white's easier to show. And so the lower octave images here are really ones that are contractive. They contract the body, they change the blood flow from the front of your brain where you can choose and have choice to the back of your brain where you tend to react. They pull emotions, like when you're in the emotions of these lower set points, it pulls blood from your digestive system into your extremities to give you energy. Like the vibration or the emotion of anger gives you, it raises your heart rate and it raises your blood pressure. And so when you've had those emotions enough times or long enough where that's your default set point with emotions or your go-to emotion, then you kind of develop this vibrational state that has a lower chronic expression of that emotion. So with something like anger, if you are in this angry vibrational state, and that's sort of your default, then you have those chronic symptoms that you get from the emotion of anger. So, digestion is compromised a little bit as blood moves to other things. You're fueling yourself with stress hormones so that your brain blood flow is moving from the front of the brain, where you have your executive function, to the back of the brain, where you have your reactive function. And it begins to change how your body works on a physical level because you're holding this vibrational state. So as you move from contracted states into expansive states, you're actually moving through higher vibrational states. And these are states like, neutrality, courage, willingness, love, joy, passion, not romantic passion, but the passion for life, and those sorts of states. And you can actually cultivate the state of love, or cultivate the state of gratitude, or cultivate the state of compassion, and move from a lower vibrational state, if that's where you've been in, up those octaves. So if you move higher than 200 and a little bit, and 200 is courage. So courage is actually a little bit below where we are as bodies, human bodies right now. We're at about 207, courage is about 200. So, courage is that not reactive courage, not the stuff that makes you act out in something that might look courageous but comes from that state of anger or reactivity, but like moral courage, the courage to actually stand up and be tapped into that deeper part of yourself, that deeper truth, and operate from there, even though most of society doesn't really like us to do that. They really like us to be in that state of reaction. So when you move up that scale, from, through courage past where the human body is, which is about 206, 207, into the higher octaves. The next one is neutrality. And neutrality is a great place to cultivate your inner power, because it's that place where you're not knocked over or pulled over from emotion. So anger doesn't pull you too far one way, and maybe, overjoy doesn't pull you too far another way. You can stay in that steady state where you're able to be responsive and enjoy all the emotions and flavors of life without kind of being that, being pulled up and down and identifying with those things. So if you cultivate that place of neutrality, the vibration of neutrality, then you can experience all of these emotions. And then when those emotions, move back out of your system into a quieter state, you come back into a state of neutrality. It's a very powerful place to be. You can also move higher up that vibrational state to things like love and peace and joy and enlightenment. And one of the ways to do that is to really become quiet and to kind of sit, not just in your emotional state, not in your mind, but kind of drop down into your body, into the bottoms of your feet, or if you're sitting down, into whatever, your sits bones, and become quiet. And you can notice then kind of how your body responds. If you're in a quiet emotional state, you can begin to feel what your vibrational state is. And it might feel a little bit like an emotion, but it is a very quiet one, because it operates not on your physical system, it operates in your subtle system. So, and just a word about that subtle system for a moment is that, beneath the physical aspects of our body and the electrical aspects of our body, the cells and the meridians and that kind of stuff, we have the atoms and the little plonk thingies that are within the atoms, but very small, teeny tiny aspects of us that are all energy-based, vibration-based. They are not physical, although particles can be wave or can be physical, but they operate at the realm of energy, which is that vibrational realm. And where the emotional system in our body is the information that's flowing about what's happening in our nervous system and our endocrine system, and informing us of what's happening on the physical, mental, and emotional levels of our body. The vibrational system really gives us information about what's happening at this subtle level, the energy levels of our bodies. And we're not, in the West anyway, taught to tap into this system, but it's there. And as you begin to really pay attention to that, to get quiet, to tune inward, to sit with yourself and fall kind of beneath the physical system, you can begin to feel what your vibration is and your vibrational set points are. And you may not be able to identify what they are, and that's fine, but you can begin to increase them. So if you notice that you've got kind of a low level anxiety, or a low level rumble of dissatisfaction, or a low level feeling of lack or not enough, then you know you're operating at that vibrational point from one of the lower vibrations. And it's nothing that's bad about you. It's just that when we have these emotions that we run all the time of lack, of fear, of anger, it kind of pulls that vibrational set point down a little bit. And so if you are experiencing that, just get quiet, begin to breathe into the chest, drop your awareness down into the heart, breathe into the heart. You can breathe deeper into the body. And just begin to cultivate, one of the easiest things is to begin to cultivate gratitude. And I know, I didn't put that in the post because it's just, we've all heard it 1,000 times. It's like, gratitude. But it really works. So if you begin to imagine what you're thankful for, not just as a mental exercise or as an emotional exercise, but if you can get the body involved, a little bit of emotion, so you've got the endocrine system involved, you're bringing through hormones like the happy hormones, and then your nervous system gets involved, and then you can begin from this deeper state to become grateful for the things that might have been painful for you, or that might have created anxiety, and find things in there to be grateful for. And that begins to restructure your synapses in your brain, how you're encoding those situations in your nervous system and in your endocrine system, in your body system. And so you can use this vibrational state and the intention of another vibration like compassion or gratitude to begin to amplify and increase the vibration and vibrational set point in your body, and also then use that intentionally, using like this frontal part of your brain to invite yourself to reimagine situations, people, things that have happened in the past in your life from a place of gratitude. Find something to be grateful for about a person, about a situation, or about having lived through or survived a situation, or what you've learned about a situation, because sometimes there's nothing to be grateful for in it itself, except perhaps that you survived. And so as you do that, you begin to restructure how your whole energy system works, and how your nervous system, what it reacts to and what it doesn't react to, because you'll find as you move up toward neutrality and beyond that you might have a memory of something, or something might happen, but you don't have the same reactive response to it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that's a memory, it happened, but it's just, you can remember then what you learned from it or what you feel grateful for about it. The other thing in here is just escaped me anyway, but your vibrational self, your vibrational life is really deeply important to your overall well-being. So I really encourage you to begin to cultivate some of these higher vibrations, so that you can really enjoy all of life, so that when something happens, you're not in that state where you're bracing yourself against experiencing an emotion, because you know that as an emotion rises and it falls, it's going to come back to a state that actually feels good for you. A state where you have your own power, a state where you're in love, or you are in joy, or you are in peace, or you are in a neutrality. And when I say in love here, and this is a really critical distinction, we tend to think of in love as a romantic association. But when you are in love and you are in the vibrational state of love, you actually are love. And so it's not the emotion of love that rises and falls based on the relationship that you're in, or that rises and falls based on what the person that you're in the relationship with does or doesn't do. But it is a state that you are in as an orientation to all of life. And you can be in that wonderful, amazing vibrational state of love. and you can experience all of life because there's no fear there, then you're going to get locked into anger, or you're going to get locked into grief, or you're going to get locked into some other emotion because you're not identifying as that emotion. You are identifying as that vibration of love. So it's a great thing to cultivate, and if you have any more questions about that, you can post beneath this video or direct message me, whatever you like. You can find more at modernmystic.net, and you can find my podcast, Conversations from the Edge of Consciousness, on most podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Anchor, and even YouTube, or on the website, conversationsfromtheedge.net. All right, have a beautiful day, and remember to be in love.